The sound of silence, why we ghost. Sevord. We've all felt it. That cold, sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. You check your phone? Again. Maybe the notification light missed a beat. Maybe the signal is weak. But the signal is fine. The bars are full. The silence is just loud. You've been ghosted. It's the modern-day disappearing act. One moment, you're sharing a life or at least a few good laughs, and the next, they're gone. No goodbye. No explanation. Just a digital tombstone where a conversation used to be. It's like watching a movie that cuts to black right before the climax. You're left sitting in the dark, wondering if the projector broke or if the story just wasn't worth finishing. Why does it hurt so much? And why, in a world where we are more connected than ever, has silence become our weapon of choice? Part 1. The Anatomy of a Disappearance. Meet Sarah. Sarah met Leo 3 weeks ago. They clicked. They talked about their favourite movies. They shared stories about their childhood dogs. They texted until 2 a.m. For Sarah, it felt like the start of something real. It wasn't just small talk. It was a connection. Then, Sarah sent a text on Tuesday.
Hey, hope your presentation went well.
Wednesday came. No reply. Thursday. Crickets. By Friday, Sarah wasn't just sad. She was obsessed. She retraced her steps. She reread their last 10 messages. She looked for a wrong word. A typo. A joke that might have landed flat. She blamed herself. She wondered if she was too much, or maybe she wasn't enough. This is the first tragedy of ghosting. When someone leaves without a word, they leave a vacuum. And the human brain hates a vacuum. We are programmed to find patterns and reasons. When we don't get them from the other person, we make them up. Usually, we fill that void with our own insecurities. We become our own worst critics. But here is the truth. Ghosting is rarely about the person being left. It's almost always about the person leaving. Part 2. The Ghoster's Shield. Why did Leo do it? If you ask Leo, he'd tell you he isn't a bad guy. He'd say he didn't want to hurt Sarah. He might even say he didn't want to make things awkward. And that's the irony. By trying to avoid a small amount of awkwardness, he created a massive amount of pain. Ghosting is the ultimate avoidant maneuver. Most people who ghost aren't sociopaths. They aren't trying to be cruel. In fact, they are often terrified of causing a scene. They are conflict avoidant. Think about the alternative to ghosting. It's a difficult conversation. It's saying, I like you, but I don't see this going further. I'm not in a place to date right now. I didn't feel the spark I was looking for. That conversation requires emotional labor. It requires looking at someone's disappointment and sitting with it. It requires being the bad guy for 5 minutes. For a ghoster, that 5-minute mountain feels like Everest. So, they choose the tunnel. They hide. They convince themselves that saying nothing is better than saying something mean. They tell themselves that the other person will get the hint. But silence isn't a hint. Silence is a scream that the other person has to interpret on their own. Part 3. The dehumanization of the screen. We have to talk about the technology. We can't ignore the glass rectangle in your hand. Apps have turned people into profiles. We swipe on humans the way we shop for shoes. When you see someone as a collection of photos and a 160-character bio, it's easy to forget there's a heart beating on the other side. The screen acts as a shield. It detaches us from the consequences of our actions. If Leo had to see Sarah's face fall when he told her he wasn't interested, he probably wouldn't do it. Most people have enough empathy to feel a pang of guilt when they see someone hurt. But he doesn't have to see her. He just has to close an app. He can archive the chat. He can delete. And just like that, Sarah ceases to exist in his digital world. Out of sight, out of mind. In the digital age, we've developed a disposable culture. If a connection feels even slightly heavy or awkward, we discard it. We think there's always another profile. Another chance. Another reset button. We've traded the messengers of human honesty for the sterile convenience of the unmatched button. We are treating people like software updates. If we don't like the current version, we just wait for the next one to pop up. Part 4. The physical pain of social rejection. Psychology tells us something fascinating and heartbreaking. When researchers studied the effects of social rejection, they found something startling. They used brain scans to see what happens when we feel excluded. They found that the parts of the brain that light up when we are ghosted are the exact same parts that light up when we experience physical pain. When you say, "It felt like a punch to the gut," you aren't being dramatic. Your brain literally processes that silence as a physical blow. But ghosting is actually worse than a standard breakup. In a breakup, you have a why. You have a the end, even if the reason is I don't love you anymore. It is a fact you can process, you can mourn it, you can put it in a box and eventually move on. In ghosting, you have an open loop. Your brain stays in search mode, trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. This leads to something called ambiguous loss. It's a state of grief where there is no closure. You can't move through the stages of healing because you don't know what you're healing from. Was it something you said? Did they die? Did they get back with an ex? Without the answer, the wound stays open. Part 5. Breaking the cycle. So, how do we fix this? How do we stop the haunting? If you've been ghosted, stop looking for the message in the silence. The silence is the message. It tells you everything you need to know. It tells you that this person, for whatever reason, does not have the emotional tools to be honest with you. It tells you they lack the capacity for the kind of connection you deserve. You don't need their permission to move on. You don't need their why to start your next. Closure isn't something someone gives you. It's something you build for yourself. It's the decision to stop checking the ghost's social media. It's the choice to realize your worth isn't tied to their inability to send a text. And if you're the one tempted to ghost, be brave for 30 seconds. That's all it takes. 30 seconds of discomfort to send a text that says, "Hey, I've enjoyed our time, but I don't think we're the right match. I wanted to be honest with you. Take care." It's not mean. It's human. It grants the other person the dignity of a conclusion. It allows them to stop wondering. It allows them to heal. When you send that text, you aren't just being kind to them, you're practicing being a person of integrity. You're choosing to be the kind of person who doesn't hide. The final word. Ghosting is the weapon of the fearful. It's a wall built out of maybe later and not right now. It's an attempt to stay safe by staying silent. But real connection, real life, that happens in the yes and the no. It happens in the difficult conversations and the honest goodbyes. It happens when we realize that the person on the other side of the screen is just as fragile and hopeful as we are. We are not just profiles. We are not just data points on a server. We are stories. And every story, even the short ones, deserves an ending. Let's put down the weapons of silence. Let's pick up the